Nobody expected him. Nobody predicted him. Nobody, not the roster, not the authority figures, not the most dedicated theorists in the entire wrestling universe, put his name in that box. And when Dean Ambrose crawled out of that mystery box and grabbed that microphone, the message he delivered left WWE in absolute, complete, total mourning. He is back. The lunatic fringe has returned. And nothing, absolutely nothing that happens on Monday Night Raw will feel the same after what Dean Ambrose just said. Suplex Rumble Nation, welcome back. I am your host, and I need you to understand the gravity of what we are discussing today before we go a single second further into this breakdown. There are returns in professional wrestling that generate excitement. There are returns that generate shock. And then rarely, beautifully, earth-shatteringly rarely, there are returns that generate something that has no clean single-word description. Something that combines all of those emotions simultaneously with a historical weight and a personal significance that makes the moment feel genuinely larger than professional wrestling itself. Dean Ambrose crawling out of that mystery box on Raw was that kind of return. And the message he delivered afterward, the words that left the WWE roster, the authority figures, and the entire WWE universe in a state of stunned, grieving silence, elevated this moment from extraordinary to historic. Subscribe if you are new. Hit that notification bell. And drop a comment right now telling me honestly, completely honestly, what your physical reaction was when you realized who was in that box. Because I want to feel this moment with every single member of this community. Let's go. To feel the full magnitude of Dean Ambrose emerging from that mystery box, to truly process why the WWE Universe's reaction was what it was, we need to spend real, dedicated time establishing who Dean Ambrose is and what he represents in the landscape of professional wrestling. Because Dean Ambrose is not simply a professional wrestler. Dean Ambrose is a philosophy, a way of approaching this sport and life broadly that is so genuinely unique, so completely uncontainable, and so authentically its own creation that no amount of time away diminishes it. Dean Ambrose cannot be imitated. He cannot be replaced. And he cannot be forgotten, because the specific energy he brings into a professional wrestling environment is one that every person who has ever witnessed it carries with them permanently. The Lunatic Fringe nickname exists because no other description adequately captures what Dean Ambrose is. He operates at the edge of professional wrestling's emotional spectrum, where control ends and something rawer, more honest, more genuinely dangerous begins. His matches do not follow conventional structure because conventional structure cannot contain what he is trying to express. His promos do not follow conventional logic because conventional logic cannot carry the specific truth he is always trying to deliver. Think about the career chapters that preceded this return. The Shield, the faction that changed professional wrestling's landscape and produced three performers who would each define the next decade of the sport in their own distinct ways. Dean Ambrose's contribution to the Shield was not the physical dominance of Roman Reigns or the technical showmanship of Seth Rollins, it was the unpredictability, the wild card. The element that made opponents unable to fully prepare because you genuinely could not predict what he was going to do next. And his solo career, the championship moments, the feuds that burned with genuine personal intensity, the matches that operated by their own specific emotional rules, added dimensions to a character that had already been one of the most compelling in his generation. Then he left. And the absence created a specific, Dean Ambrose-shaped hole in WWE programming that nothing and nobody adequately filled. Because you cannot fill a Dean Ambrose-shaped hole with anyone other than Dean Ambrose. Until now. The choice of the mystery box as the vehicle for Dean Ambrose's return deserves specific recognition as a moment of genuine creative brilliance, because the method of return and the identity of the returnee are in such perfect harmony that it feels less like a creative decision and more like an inevitability. Think about what a mystery box represents as a narrative device. Unpredictability. The unknown. The specific tension of a container that could hold anything that refuses to telegraph its contents, that demands to be experienced rather than anticipated. A mystery box, by its very nature, is a lunatic proposition. It asks the audience to surrender their need for certainty and simply be present for whatever emerges. That description applies perfectly, almost eerily perfectly, to Dean Ambrose himself. Dean Ambrose has always been a mystery box. You know he is going to do something. You know it is going to be significant. You know it is going to be unexpected. But the specific thing, the exact nature of what emerges when Dean Ambrose's moment arrives, is never predictable, has never been predictable, will never be predictable. Because predictability is the one quality that Dean Ambrose has never possessed and has never wanted to possess. So when that mystery box sat in the center of the ring, generating the building tension that mystery boxes generate, it was already, on some unconscious level, a Dean Ambrose energy. The specific quality of the unknown that only he embodies was already present in the room before the box opened. And when he crawled out, not walked, not stepped, not emerged dramatically, but crawled out, in the specific, slightly unhinged, completely his own way that Dean Ambrose does everything, the rightness of it was immediate. The method of emergence was the confirmation. This was always his box. It was always going to be him. The WWE Universe felt that rightness in the sound they made, which was unlike the sound of any other return WWE has produced in recent memory. Let's slow this moment down completely because the specific physical act of Dean Ambrose crawling out of that mystery box deserves frame-by-frame appreciation as one of the most perfectly character-consistent, most viscerally effective entrance moments professional wrestling has produced in 2026. He did not burst out. He did not throw the lid off with dramatic force and stand immediately in a power pose. He did not announce himself with a gesture or an expression designed for the cameras. He crawled, slowly, deliberately, with the specific energy of something that has been contained for a very long time finally finding its way back into the open air. The crawl lasted approximately 10 seconds. 10 seconds during which the arena's noise went through multiple distinct phases. The initial eruption of recognition as his hand appeared and then his arm and then his face, the specific, unmistakable face of Dean Ambrose. The wave of disbelief that crashed immediately after the recognition, as thousands of people simultaneously questioned whether their eyes were telling the truth. The sustained roar that built as the full reality of what they were witnessing settled into collective consciousness and refused to leave. 10 seconds. More emotional content than most segments produce in 10 minutes. When he finally stood, when he rose from that crawl to his full height and the arena got its first complete look at Dean Ambrose standing in a WWE ring for the first time, and what felt like forever, the noise became something almost physical. Something you could feel in your chest even through a television screen. He stood. He looked around. Not at the crowd with the grateful acknowledgement of someone receiving an ovation, but with the specific, unsettling calm of someone who has arrived at exactly the place they always knew they were going to arrive at. No surprise on his face. No performance of emotion for the cameras. Just Dean Ambrose. Back. And clearly with something very specific to say. And then he spoke. And the message, the specific, raw, unfiltered, completely Dean Ambrose message that he delivered to the entire WWE universe is why we titled this video the way we titled it. WWE is in mourning because of what Dean Ambrose said. And I want to be very deliberate about how we honor those words on Suplex Rumble, because the power of Dean Ambrose's communication has always lived not just in the specific words but in the truth underneath them. The truth that makes comfortable things uncomfortable and unclear things suddenly and devastatingly clear. What Dean Ambrose communicated in the specific, unpredictable, emotionally charged way that only he can communicate was a reckoning, a statement of account, an honest, unflinching assessment of the WWE landscape from the perspective of someone who left it, survived outside it, built something elsewhere, and has now returned not with nostalgia but with purpose. He spoke about what is wrong, about the gap between what professional wrestling is and what it has the potential to be.